Hello again. It's like a double bill, although I'd say it was more like a quadruple bill because the amount of times we started the detox earlier today. But check it out, roasting the robots of death. Nobody seemed to understand that. Comic roast, exaggeration, it's allowed. Anyway, and welcome to anyone who's new as well as all our old friends as well. It's a good one today, Friday the 29th of August 2025, with delicious helpings of prime resource blasts, criticisms, insights, and observations on the chaos within Doctor Who at the moment. As you know, it's another show based on what my media insider has said. And oh god, there's some good stuff. Now he's raced from work. We all know him, John. Sci-Fi Chronicles 79. Still in one piece. Are you up for this?
Oh, bring it on, my friend. Let's go for it. Hi, everyone.
Well, the last one we did on the news source information was actually here when we talked about BBC's, RTD's, Bad Wolves, Disney's strategy for the Doctor Who relaunch not being up to it. He was scathing about it, and we follow up on one aspect of that tonight. But no repeats, everybody. It's new material. I mean, the amount of quotes I've got from this source gets ridiculous. But so, just to help you out, these are the headlines for tonight. I always like to help everybody see what we're doing. So, the headlines for tonight's show is the suggestion from the source of what would have been common sense to him. And it will be explained in a moment. And I put one of your questions to him about the constant debate in fandom about whether we should erase an era to retcon Doctor Who, erase a Doctor. He gives value for money on that, but it allows us to debate it too tonight. And John, I'm sure, will have a few strong opinions on it. I don't think it's a topic any of us are sat on the fence, John.
No, we've kind of nailed our mass into place, haven't we, on this subject over the last few years in particular. So this is going to be an interesting one, I think,
Yes, and
and
this is,
possibly predictable at times as well from me.
but this is also the beauty of it, everybody, because the source was answering questions and I obviously recorded them, and the question was from one of our thread. So this is where it works, folks. Send me questions in, and when I grab him, we can do this. And I hit this one. So I can see the thread are already rehearsing their arguments. You can see my eyes are knackered. Hay fever, you see. Can't see a blooming thing without them at the moment. So here we go. So the first thing was Ace would have been a better idea for the spin-off, says my source. Now we can all have an opinion on this, but this is how he lays it out, okay? And he went down this path, this logical path, John, because of where we ended up after Jodie Whittaker. So basically, he said, and I will show you the quotes in a minute, but if you saw Tegan, Janet Fielding, but she's in her 70s, and you saw Sophie Aldred, who's 60, I think, or 60 in a little bit, I'll be nice. And you see them, and they're established, and I mean that them and Sylvester and Peter stood out a mile. Why not use one of them as a launch pad back into the program? And it's just to show you, everybody, just while John's going to be dying to speak in a minute, I know. But what we said 2 days ago was it was a bad strategy they had for relaunching Doctor Who. He said it had been an absolute disaster. He said part of the stupid maneuver was, why would you bring the Sea Devils into a spin-off when they haven't been linked to the main series? We discussed that the other day. I just want to remind everybody. He said it's nuts to do that. It's insane to do that. And then on top of that, he said about Kate Stewart and UNIT. He said Kate Stewart isn't really the most popular character. So why would you have her in it? Didn't seem to make sense to him at all to go down this road. I'm just reminding everybody, if they haven't seen our Wednesday show, obviously, John, you were well involved in this debate, but your initial thoughts?
Well, I've got two thoughts on it, really. Well, two lines of thoughts. The first one is, do you use Sophie Aldred as the lead in the spin-off based on how bad the last two series under Ncuti Gatwa and Russell T Davies have been? In that scenario, I say you do, because that's your surest bet to at least make it decent, to at least have an established Doctor Who, what in my opinion, an iconic character back for the spin-off. Gemma Redgrave, as you said, and as the source has said, there's no interest in that character whatsoever. It's been a one-dimensional character from the word go. I would say as well, if it was that there was a proper structure without panicking to try and do a spin-off with the evidence of what they've had the last 2 years, I wouldn't bring Sophie Aldred back as Ace to head it up. For me, the best way to have done it would have been to completely new cast, completely new lead. But you know, as we were saying the other day, and the sources said as well, which I agree on, you build up those characters throughout a season or 2 seasons and lead into the spin-off series. That's what should have happened. You know, it's why do we love the Brig? We didn't love the Brig because we saw him in we saw him, in a here, there, and ever. We saw him because he was a well-written character in the Prime series. You can do that with the spin-off series, and that's what they needed to do, but they haven't done it. So, on one side, to fix a sinking ship, yes, Sophie Aldred to come back as Ace and to lead it, but on we haven't even started production yet on it. No, let's go in a completely different direction. Hope
So,
that
yeah, well, the thread are obviously involved in this. Remember, this is our warm up for obviously the big one about retconning, and everybody's getting in there. So I'll help the rehearsal. Atom Warlock, some great names here. The Richard E. Grant Doctor has been retconned twice, retconned out and retconned back in. So of course you can retcon out the 2 worst Doctors. Anthony Parkinson, they don't need to retcon anything. Just ignore Chibnall's and RTD. You've got a different viewpoint there, Anthony. Yeah, retcon is actually doing it, or you just ignore. It's the worst thing in the world to be, isn't it? Is ignored. So that's one version. Let's have a look. Atom Warlock had a bit more to say. Disney retconned the whole, was that EU, and some of which were NY Times.
yeah, Star Wars, yeah.
So the BBC can retcon. It's all possible, but like I said, I'll tell you what our source thinks in a minute, and you can all have your opinion. And on the sense fee, you'll get airplay. Erase the past few years, says PVFS. They never happened. It's all a blur. Side quest nerd, Ace would have been ruined, which is partly where you're going with this, John. It's an era you like, and you don't want it risk, do you?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when I heard that she was coming back for a Chibnall episode, my body started convulsing voluntarily again at the prospect of it, because I just thought, what is this hack going to do with the wonderful Sophie Aldred and that wonderful character of Ace? But I will say, out of all that Jodie era, the scene between the 7th Doctor and Ace is my favourite in quite a while, because I enjoyed that so much. The rest of it I'd jettison in a second. But I'm with people in the audience. You know me, Brendan. You know how I operate. It's got to be retcon from Jodie onwards. That's it. That's the big one.
That's a big one. Well, let's and so I'm not here to tease everybody. This is not our news bite, and it's not our news night. It's somewhere in the middle. Yeah. Brendan, what's your definition of that? The detox hour never is an hour. It's the classic. So anyway, here we go. There she is. It was. I mean, me in McCoy era. And yeah, look, I know there's some really good stories I enjoy as well. And the last season was the best out of their 3. I get all that. I loved seeing her. I thought it was great dialogue between the 2. I think I had the most emotion. I think trying to give Janet Fielding and Peter Davison forced emotion on Adric was
just was silly. We've been there, we've done that. If you want that, go Big Finish.
Because they got her back with the Nitro 9, they got her back with the baseball bat, they and the jackets, they got her back with everything that you'd expect.
They did. I just think, the reason I'm reluctant is if there had actually been proper thought put into this spin-off series of having Ace back. With me, Ace lives in my memory as a great character from a happy time in my life. And as someone else was saying in the chat, they would destroy, they would defile that character. They really would. And I don't want that for Ace, because I just think she needs to be left as is now, you know.
Yeah, well, you see, that's it. I mean, Robert Payne, it's not wrong. Ace probably would have been a better spin off. Now, the logic will be explained in a moment. Now, Bubbles, hi all, definitely not. Look what RTD did with Mel. And this is the thing, Bonnie Lanford coming back as an older companion, having seen her in EastEnders, I thought, yes, that's great. But she was hardly in it. You mess around with a moped,
Yeah.
and then she's mad anti-Mel. Mad anti-Mel. Why are you doing that?
Well, exactly. I mean, you know, clearly at Unit now, you can go up any floor in any building on a moped now. You know, so watch out for anyone who goes shopping in town centres when Mel's around, because you never know what you're going to get indoors now, do you? Really?
No.
The funny thing was, no matter how badly she was written, she still overshadowed Ncuti Gatwa in all the scenes she was in with him.
Yeah.
I think that, again, I stick to my mindset that you've got to move forward with a new cast. You know, what this production do now is or this team, you know, when they were in place, they like to also, you know, a little bit of what they call member berries. They go, oh, we'll throw you in Ace, or we'll throw you in Tegan, and they do their own thing with it. But the fans are tuned out of that now. You know, the remaining fans that are generally would generally watch this, I bet you they don't know, half of them don't even know who Ace would be anyway.
And this is something that keeps coming up from my media insider, because he makes programs and he pitches programs and all the rest of it, and he knows how they think. And he says, why would you do this if they haven't heard of that person? Anyway, Julie Coonan says here, I think you're right, John. After what they did or didn't do with Susan, perhaps Ace should be left under a better guardian of the show. All right, I mean, Ash Lamont. I'd go with Joe Ostrander's idea. Jump forward thousands of years into the future and revive the Doctor using the half-life left from the end. That's interesting. Do something. What you're saying, Ash Lamont, is dislocate it from the series. Stop that continuity in that kind of way. Let's just jump. I'd go with that.
I'm still sticking strongly to retcon Jodie onwards, but I think there are clever writers that would be able to do it. I've said this before. You almost have to have a, you know, on the edge of a multiverse kind of scenario where you just see a screen and it basically shows Jodie and Ncuti are multiverse doctors from another universe. That's it. You move on. You do something like that. There are cleverer writers out there. There are cleverer people than me that could just wave it away in a moment. And the thing is, we're at a point now, if it is ever to come back, we need someone to be bold like that and to go, you know what, I'm taking the bull by the horns and we're doing this because we've looked at the data, we've looked at the merchandise sales. These two are extremely unpopular. Capaldi, let's go from Capaldi. Let's crack on.
Now, David Harding, what's wrong, Brendan, with Tegan and the Fifth Doctor scene in Power of the Doctor? The Sidemen should make her think about Adric, especially what happened to him. It's just, I think what I said, David, is the forced emotion.
There was emotion already.
There was emotion in the scene with McCoy and Sophie. It was their dialogue fit. And of course, it was a part of her character arc. You know, do you still approve of me? And I'm sorry we did. There was something there. Whereas they weren't talking about Adric in Time Flight. I mean, you know,
exactly right, mate. And to just back that up, I mean, the Seventh Doctor and Ace conversation worked with me because I thought, yeah, if you haven't listened to Big Finish, that's a natural way where you would logically expect them to have a falling out. And for there to be a resolution at some point. But in Big Finish, they have a falling out in Big Finish. So I understood it, but you're right. You're 100% right. It was so forced with the Fifth Doctor and Tegan. It's like, you know, all the things unsaid. Well, you were doing all right, you know, when you were, you know, back on the TARDIS in Amsterdam and all those things as well, weren't you? So, you know, how much time do you need?
Now I'm trying my best to keep up with you, Thread. You give me loads, and now we're going to look at what the actual source actually said logically, and then we get to the retcon. So Tony Farrell, the trouble with a retcon is that you remind people of past failures and confuse newcomers. That's basically what the source has been saying to me in some ways about anything that you do. How do you how do you explain to people fast without boring them rigid? Matt the Silent, create an Unbound Doctor Who spin off for all the doctors that don't work, like that clown. Yeah, you mean, yeah, it needs to be like in a radioactive bunker and
Just
kind of locked away.
and then just blow that universe up. It'll work fine. I'll go with that.
And we've got the Zero Room, Brian. The only way to fix the show properly is a fresh start with no mention cameos of past incarnations or companions. And I've heard people have pushed back on me on this one. There is a middle ground, Brian, where you basically don't show regeneration, a link like that. It's just a doctor in the future. And yes, if it takes off, now and again there can be a mention, maybe, if it's relevant to the plot. But yeah, because some people go mad when I say that and they say, you can't deny what the Doctor Who is. And I'm going, all right, all right, all right. Anyway, less of me. Here comes the source again. He says, we all slightly expected when we realised it wasn't a hard reboot. Remember, he tells me that Disney thought this was going to be a hard reboot they were buying into. They didn't think it was going to be this continuity blather. So we all slightly expected when we realised it wasn't a hard reboot and it was just some weird carrying on, was to put Sophie Aldred in it, and then RTD could have maybe got a spin-off out of her. That seems a much more obvious route, having her after she'd been so successful in the last Jodie Whittaker story. The ratings are going low. Jodie Whittaker regenerates. RTD appears with Disney money. If you want to do a spin-off RTD, maybe Chris Chibnall had a good idea in bringing her back. Maybe that's what was needed.
I think, again, Sophie Aldred, fantastic actor, great character as Ace. But the trouble you've got then as well, and again, I'm going to put my source kind of, I'm in the room with execs hat on. Right, let's go forward with Sophie Aldred. Her character Ace. Who? Let's watch these stories. She was last in the show in 89. Oh right, okay. Are we going to have like a flashback backstory to it to introduce it to the spin-off? No, we're not. We're just going to go in cold. You could do that going in cold, but again, no disrespect to Sophie, because I say I'm a big fan of Sophie, but if you're going to do that and the audience don't know, the general audience don't know who Sophie Aldred is or Ace is, you might as well just go with a completely new cast anyway and build them as strong characters. That's for me what should happen. And I don't know about you, Brendan. I want to get your thoughts on this as well. How and the source, I'd love to get the source's feedback as well, and the audience. But doesn't it say something though about the fact that they're having to use Kate Lethbridge-Stewart that they feel is a sure bet to almost prop up a spin-off series? Now that doesn't sound like it's on strong foundations to begin with, does it? In my opinion,
it's a weird one, because Russell Tovey as Barclay's going to carry it. She's again in the background. It's almost as if they won't make her in the foreground, and maybe that's because of something. Now Anthony Parkinson here says, I'm beginning to think this source doesn't know what he or she is on about if they think Ace is a draw. They're not saying that. Look at his logic. He's a media.
I get it.
Yeah, I'll explain again, Anthony, in a different way. He's media savvy. He's saying, look, you are where you are, right? Yes. You've got to respect the reality. If you were bringing back Ace from 1989 and she hasn't been seen, it's dead in the water. But she'd just been seen, and it was one of the big hit scenes. And actually, she was quite go-getting in it. So it made sense to him, as somebody who does a lot of pitches, to say to the BBC, I'd do a series on her.
I would also go a step further on it. I mean, I agree with the source. What the source is talking about, as you just said, it's damage limitation. after what has
Yeah,
happened. It's like
literally.
how do you make it at least viewable for an audience that are
Yeah,
coming into this cold?
it
And
just make the best of what you can.
yeah, and I think if that's the case, I would have gone a one step further. Yeah, you could have put Sophie Aldred in it back as Ace, but I would also say I would have said you put Millie Gibson in it as well, because arguably she was far stronger than Ncuti Gatwa in that two season run, far stronger in performance to Kate Lethbridge Stewart as well. So I would go that far. The trouble you've got, and again, as the source is kind of pointing out, this is kind of like a Hail Mary kind of scenario. With the writing of the people there on that production, you're not going to get Sophie Aldred served. You're not going to get great stuff from Ace. You're going to have like a 5-minute scene, and that'll be about it, and that's it, done. Move on. But I do agree that with the mess it's in,
It's
that
just
would have been an option.
yeah, it's just you have to always act where we are, not in kind of fan service and all the rest of it.
Yeah,
Squinty Mint, the simple answer is there shouldn't have been a spin-off. Now, Squinty Mint
100%.
has promised me that when it comes to the retcon, he's going to kick off. So this is going to be Side Quest Nerd, yeah, Kate is a wooden character, nothing like her dad that commanded the screen. So basically, you put Russell Tovey in as the lead. The answers are there right under our nose. Robert Payne, whoever is used in a spin-off character show, it still has to be written authentically, not just used as a platform for political activism. I see what
Yes.
you're saying. And so, this is where you pick up RTD. This is when you pick up saying, I'm going to do some specials. We'll do a Whoniverse, blah, blah, blah. This is where Doctor Who finished with Tegan and Ace reintroduced. And that's the logic killer. So last thing on Ace, he said, I mean, the best thing about the power of the Doctor was Sophie and Janet Fielding. Weren't they great? Maybe RTD was bloody jealous that Chris Chibnall at the last minute got them and got to write for them. Maybe he couldn't say, I've got a great idea, which is what the other man had, but I'm taking over from him. Is it ego?
Yeah, I mean, I agree that I think those two were the best of that Power of the Doctor episode. They were excellent. Shame about the rest of it, really. RTD Maywell, he's got an ego, hasn't he? I Going back to what I said a few minutes ago. To be honest with you, if you're in such a bad situation with wondering how you're going to get people to watch the spin-off, I'd kind of go, which I kind of get the feeling they're doing that now, or certainly Disney, where they're completely chopping off that this is a Doctor Who spin-off.
Mm.
When Disney Plus advertise it, it's the war between the land and the sea. There's no Doctor Who symbol or anything like that on it. It's just BBC, the war between the land and the sea. What I would have done is, right, strip out any characters that have been in the Doctor Who series. Start with your prime cast that you're going to use for the war between the land and the sea. That way, you're completely separated it. You're ring fenced from it. That way, you've got more chance of bringing in an audience, because you've already got a bundle of people that are going to go, right, I hated what that Doctor Who, it wasn't Doctor Who. I don't like it. I'm not going to watch it. And you've got other people that will potentially watch it for Doctor Who, but there's a small number. And then you've got the general audience. So I would have just gone, right, chop all of it and just gone, right, new cast. This is Unit dealing with the sea creatures.
Or Side Quest Nerd says the Daleks, the Cybermen, the Zygons could have all had spin-off shows without the Doctor and done well. It would have been different, isn't it? And interesting to have done not a spin-off of his allies, the Doctor's allies, or a companion and all the rest of it. I thought this, even the Master. You could have had the Master.
War
I mean,
Master.
the Master's a gift for this sort of thing. When the Master's
yeah.
compromised or something. The Daleks, well, Terry Nation was thinking of that. There must be a reason why it never quite got there. And I'm always concerned that it's too many Daleks and you suddenly lose the effect. Cybermen, Zygons are interesting because of the shape-shifting element. There's a few interesting things there. But yeah, final comments on this, John, before we move to the retcon debate.
Well, that comment from SideQuest Nerd, I think, first of all, for the Daleks and the Cybermen, firstly the Daleks. If I had a larger budget similar to what RTD had just blown, you could do a good Dalek War spin-off, like they did with the Big Finish audios, and you could go that route. I think Cybermen, yes, you could do, but the trouble I think with the Cybermen is you need to build the Cybermen up, and perhaps the Daleks in the Prime series to start with, because let's be honest, the Cybermen have not been well served in the Prime series, so I think you need to have them appear before you go and launch them into something else.
Isn't the truth, John, ultimately, and we don't need a source to tell us this, it's common sense. If you don't have a good idea, don't force it on the telly. And as we're saying with the Cybermen, if it's just going to be, we just bring the Cybermen back, we'll concoct some stupid story. No, if you haven't got a good idea, don't bring them back. Don't bring Davros back unless it's a genius idea. Go forward and stop just rehashing because you are unable to think of anything new. I think.
Exactly.
And in a way, Janet Fielding's Tegan story wasn't, I think, as engaging, although they're more my era, than Sophie Aldred's dialogue with the professor. That seemed to have a bit more oomph to it, and it looked as though it had moved their relationship on. Whereas I think, apart from maybe, I suppose, Tegan, who's always a bit frosty knickers, actually says to the doctor, Adric, suddenly you think, oh gosh, he's got a heart. But apart from that, it wasn't the same. So there we go. Mark Raymond, good idea, Neville, but from the Hellbent or end of Bill Potts, because they're all discussing all their ideas. I think you would have to leave Potts in because of the Capaldi-Bradley special, which was fantastic. Yes, you see in the retcon we're coming to, where would you retcon? That's bad enough. So I'm really going to get us going now. This is toxic. I mean, this is where it really does kick off. And so everybody be on the alert. This is obviously material from my source because I'm basically the source whisperer. Don't. Hello. Sorry, face of board. I killed him. Sorry. He doesn't like a tickle behind the ear. So, having tickled the sauce behind the ear, metaphorically, so the retcon a doctor or a raisin era debate. Oh my God. So I threw this at the source, and this is what I got back. So, here's the context, everyone, because I do want your answers. We've got the timeless children. Do we go back to before then and retcon that whole era? Do we retcon the whole idea and go back to Night of the Doctor? Do we retcon back to the Doctor Who movie? Now, I'm only replicating at the moment the different versions and ideas I've heard. I'm not telling you mine. Some people would say, no, sorry, you're going to have to go back to 1996. Sorry, everything after that, no. Other people have said, well, no, I'd go further, but not the timeless children. And so, it's an interesting one about Paul McGann. What about this one then? So anyway, I like Night of the Doctor. This is the tricky thing. It's a nice little scene. Now, Peter Capaldi's confusing in a certain way. Which regeneration are we going for? Some of you say after Capaldi, no, it has to be retconned after then. Right. Okay, which version would you like? The Capaldi when he was kind of regenerating after his epic battle with the Cybermen, in that much darker story, or do you wait till when he meets the David Bradley First Doctor and has a little reprise and then he goes all again? This is a tricky one. Or are you arguing for getting rid of the Jodie Whittaker era of people and Ncuti Gatwa for that sake? Is it because of the timeless children? Would you like us to go back to 1989 and everything after that is out of order? So we end with Sylvester McCoy walking off with Ace the first time round. Is that what you want? Other people don't like having the War Doctor. Other people don't like the fugitive doctor. So all I'm doing is throwing it all in the air at the moment, everybody in the thread, while you nail your colours to the mast thread and tell us where you would retcon it if you would. Because the Timeless Children and Tecton, that horrible child kind of scientist, you know,
You're
doing
making me
experiments.
ill, Brendan. You're making me ill.
And of course, Gallifrey's been smashed up, destroyed, tied up in a little bundle to be found again. I mean, honestly, we've wrecked Gallifrey as well.
Yeah.
So now I've warmed you all up, and everybody, you can't prevaricate now. I'm going to be really teacher on you. You now tell us, while me and John go through some of these quotes, you tell us, can you retcon Doctor Who? Should you retcon Doctor Who? And if so, where and why? Okay, lots to get our teeth into there. Because this is where basically I think most people with Capaldi are meaning that at this moment here, when we saw him for how many times was he blown up the TARDIS with that kind of generation energy? There's a Cyberman who, judging by what's in his trousers, is still a man. You can't say cyber person, sorry. No. I see the evidence in my eyes.
Cold day.
So yes, I think I've reminded everybody of where you could be. There was a moment after this when Jodie Whittaker appears. Is this the moment everyone's talking about? So now we are up to speed. What did the source say on this whole debate? Ooh. Well, now this is I've given you little subheadings, everyone. The BBC response to a retcon idea. He often the source rehearses what would be said in the room, and John has got onto this. Well, they wouldn't know. I mean, no showrunner is going to get very far who comes in and says, I want to start the show at Peter Capaldi's regeneration. Who? Who the hell is Peter Capaldi? Well, he was the Doctor a few Doctors ago. Was he? Oh, okay.
I would just say, mate, if any studio exec basically says, who the hell is Peter Capaldi? They are in the completely wrong job if they don't know his caliber of CV.
But this is the point. The people at the very top don't watch TV.
I think for me though, mate, if they really don't watch TV, I would literally go into the pitch and I'd basically say, look, yeah, okay. If they don't know at all, I'd go, right, okay, yeah, we're starting. The new Doctor's coming in straight after Capaldi. And they go, okay, then. And then I would then literally gloss over it. And then I would look to map out my structure for the upcoming seasons. That's how I do it. I would just gloss over it. If they don't pay too much detail on it, I would slyly trick them into just going, yep, stamped, off you go, crack on with it.
So everybody, it gets tasty now, but yes, I love this kind of rehearsal of these BBC executives who go, what, who, what happened? Why are we doing this? I mean, the trouble is they hold the purse strings, so that is a problem. But obviously, it's always explosive what you get off the source, and it's great fun. Yes. Have you subscribed to us, everybody? Have you given us a like yet? This poor source, I'm knackering him. I'm always asking him questions. So there you go. There's our starter for 10. And of course, I forgot this moment in the Cyberman two-parter. The Mondasian, and I didn't forget the Mondasian Cyber. Look at that shot. It is so
great,
atmospheric.
Yeah, it's Doctor Who. It's Doctor Who, isn't it?
But it's like the Armageddon that the Doctor has to face. Yeah. And that's when he falls. That's when the Doctor falls, when it's Armageddon like this. It just looks fit for an end of a Doctor.
It's wonderful.
Go for that. So I wanted to remind everybody of that one. But then I'm interrupting the source. He's still rehearsing what the BBC are thinking like. And he says, and you want to do what now? Well, we want to start the show then, when Capaldi regenerated, but we want to do a new thing with it. Well, why do you want to go back to that? Well, because fans didn't like Jodie Whittaker. Oh, okay. So let me get this right. Then know this bit. So you want us to announce to the general public that the first female Doctor Who we're erasing from history. You want my name on that? All right, cheers. Get out. Yeah.
Well, that, mate, that is what I've been saying for the last few years. That's where the rubber hits the road, and it's put up and show up. Because if you are serious about making Doctor Who a success again, that needs to be done. And if you don't have, as I've said before, if you don't have balls of steel to basically green light that and do it, don't bring it back, because these execs, they have backed themselves into a corner the last few years due to the shocking decisions they have made. This is a mess of their own making. But, you know, as we know from the viewership, there's a small minority of people that are Jodie fans. You know, there's a small minority of people that are Ncuti Gatwa fans. The majority of the general viewers and long-time Doctor Who fans, they don't like any of that. So you've got a choice at that point. Do you want to have viewers actually tuning in again, or do you want to try and bring something back and you've already got your arm twisted behind your back before you even attempt to do so?
So there's the first bit of logic from the source, whether you agree or not. I mean, he's one person, he's one man, actually. I know somebody said he or him or her, but it's a man. Right, okay, let's go into the thread and pull out your ideas, because I'll give my opinion in a minute, and then obviously John will nail his colours to the mast. Robert Payne, either everything since Capaldi is a different universe timeline due to the reaction of the TARDIS, the Mavity, yeah, get that. 2, Dr. Gatwa is a fake of the toy maker and evaporates, not regenerates. Hold your thoughts, everybody. I'll just go through the thread and then I'll say further. Bubbles, we go back to the 12th Doctor. He's still regenerating in the snow. The rest was a fever dream, right? It's getting interesting, this. I said all this to the source. It's so interesting because you're all going to be on a naughty step in a minute. Stephen O'Neill, get rid of Dr. Huddersfield and Dr. Nees and don't have Peter Capaldi leaving. And also get rid of the fugitive Doctor. Right, Stephen, I don't think the BBC are going to ever talk to you, according to these rehearsals. Tomboy Chick, I can't ignore the performances by Eccleston, Smith and Capaldi. It would be unfair. Right, and this is the respect thing. Carry on, Paul Mabley. Retconning a show with time travel at its heart should be easy. Logic, yes. Professionally speaking, and then the other thing is, well, I'll bring it in a minute because it's put well by my source. Phantom Cat, timeless child and forward doesn't exist to me. I know, and this is what I really wanted to get the opinion of the source on, and we're going to really debate this tonight, not straight away. Don't worry, John, it'll be in pieces, because the point is, there's so much to retcon if you go down that road, and once you've retconned once, you've really given a green light to anyone in the future to retcon what you've done. It becomes a mess. Yeah. I have to say, while you hold the line and never retcon anything, but just move forward, and as I think some people are saying, never mention Timeless Child again, never mention anything you don't like again, and just move forward, we might get away with it. Because is the Doctor half human from 96? Nah.
I think for me, that half human thing, I don't know about you, but the two part of the Stolen Earth, I think RTD actually, in one of his attempted clever things, when he did the duplicate Doctor, he attempted to address it, because he said something about spatio-temporal something or other rippling back through time. So I think he tried to address it, but that was one where even as a teenager, I heard that and I was like, oh, for crying out loud. But if I could go back in time to my young teenage self now and say, you think that's controversial? Wait till you get to where I am, mate. You know, they'd be like, what are you talking about? Oh, I'll go and watch Star Trek then. Forget it.
So I'm going to update the thread up to present, and then we'll move forward and we'll keep the debate going, because I know I wanted to do this question. I wanted to do this show because it pulls everybody in. Atom Warlock, retcon after Twice Upon a Time, but if we go all the way back to Survival, I'm okay with that. You know, Atom, that for every person who says that, there's another person who says, oh, what, you're writing out my Doctor, because we're all different ages. And I'm very, very well aware that I might not have enjoyed the whole Sylvester McCoy era as much because I was older, but John does.
Yeah.
So when I'm showrunner, do I say, well, I really was uncomfortable with that era and I thought Ace dominated too much in the storyline, so I'm going to retcon it. And then I've just wiped away all of John's memories of that era, not memories, but love of that era, because it doesn't exist as. And then we get into a mess. And then the general public, John, the general public are going to go, are they interested in any retcon? No, they just want good stories. And all this twaddle is just going to wrap them up in mess.
I think I know lots of people that have already said to me, they said, unless it's retcon from Jodie Whittaker onwards, they are never coming back to watch Doctor Who because they just cannot get on board with it until that's sorted. I think it's like you said, you know, if you start, again, I'm going to defeat my comments here in a second, but if you start going back into eras and saying, right, okay, let's do it from here, let's do it from there, like, you know, classic, let's do it from the 7th Doctor onwards.
Yeah.
I don't think that works. For me, it comes down to a very simple thing. When did Doctor Who start getting universally panned, and when did it become an embarrassment? And for me, it all comes back to the Jodie Whittaker onwards casting. That's where I cut it off. That's where you've got, you know, your limb's got gangrene, you've got to save the rest of you, you cut the limb off. That's what you do. You get rid of it. You jettison that, and you basically say, look, you could even, I've been thinking since what I said a few minutes ago, mate, you could even have a new story of Doctor Who starts, right? And you don't address the numbering at all. You just have the Doctor going about his business in his first story in that new series. Great. Then you leave it to an official novel or a production brief that's put out to basically, yeah.
No,
Not anymore. Not after what they've done. So you then get that out and you basically go, right, okay, the numbering is this, you know, Capaldi, then new Doctor. That's it. And then I bet you, and I would stand by this, I bet you if they did that, there would be very little outcry and it would still be a massive success, because I stick to my viewpoint that a lot of these Jodie and Ncuti supporters, a lot of them don't actually watch a lot of Doctor Who. You know, there's a minority there.
And I'm really fair on sense for you. Although I did watch every Doctor Who episode, and McCoy wasn't my era as much as others, I couldn't cancel that era, and here's my evidence. I've even got more than that. A Garbage Who, by the way, does my AI. Please check out his channel. He's getting close to 100 subscribers, so let's get him over tonight. Make the weekend less stressful. Squinty Mint here, by the way. I think anyone pitching new episodes of Who should write a story and pitch that rather than tie themselves up. I think this is the issue. If you're going to go into a room and pitch Doctor Who or anything for that matter, do you really want to confuse and bamboozle the executives by going, well, we're going to explain this and we're going to... Actually, it makes sense to say, let's just get a shift on.
I think that comment is kind of what I was saying about I would just fudge it. I would basically say, look, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to retcon. These people aren't going to listen to me anyway and don't watch the show. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to take it on my shoulders. I'm going to go for it and do it. And I'm pitching them what I'm going to do in my run. I'm not going to tell them greatly about that. Just, this is my Doctor. This is where we're going. Because I'll give you an example, right, about what you were just saying there about pitching. Everyone has heard of probably The Walking Dead that became a TV series, you know, with zombies. When Kirkman was pitching to have that comic book made, the bosses said to him, no, there's too many zombie comic books. We're not doing it. And then what he did in the end, he goes, yeah, but we find out later on that it's aliens that are doing it. Aliens are causing the zombies. When it became a roaring success, the manager came to him and he said, great, we love it, but where's the aliens? And he said, I lied to you. He goes, there are no aliens. I just wanted you to commission my book. So,
well, this is it. It's the essence of every job interview. You don't tell them the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Oh, my God, I'd never be appointed. But the big arguments about retcons and whether you can retcon an era or not, and I'm seeing what people are saying in the thread about their choices. It's a bit like when you're at school and one year, and you see the timetable and you see that the teacher you've got in your favorite subject is not your favorite teacher, and you're going, we've got so and so, we've got Miss. It's only a year. Well, it's actually less than a year. And then a year later, you might get a different teacher and one who's more to your liking. In other words, we all have a doctor who is not quite pitch perfect for you. It's not quite your flavour. You still learn a bit about Doctor Who. You still see Doctor Who. And then, hey, here's my favourite teacher comes back. And in a way, that's how I think it should be seen. Therefore, what am I saying? You can't erase a doctor.
I think there was an interesting comment a few minutes ago, I'm sure, where they said, but Doctor Who's already been retconned already. It has by Chibnall and RTD. So that's a very, very good point. Why are we all getting bent out of shape? Why should execs get bent out of shape when it's already been done? What we're effectively doing is we're resetting it to put it back on track to where it was before the retcon. That's the difference.
This is the education of the source, who's a media insider, who says, why bother? And I've got more quotes on that. He's going to kick back on us all, folks. If you were into retcon, I mean, he's not saying he wants to take on the world. It's his opinion. But it's interesting because he's in the room talking to these people and he knows what they will listen to and what they won't. Tony Fowler, sorry. Go on. Hang on, Brendan. Didn't RTD retcon Sutek? By that reckoning, the precedent has been set already, as John was saying. But I've slagged that off. And so have you probably, Tony Fowler, and so has John. It's disrespectful to change Omega, the Rani, Sutek. We have not been happy about that. And actually, the 15th Doctor was almost a retcon of a Doctor. He's sexual, he's this, he's that. And we've disagreed with that. So I have to stay consistent with my logic and say, I can't then join the Gannon retcon. Now, I can understand John's argument is almost turning into that Sutek nonsense with the Doctor when he says, I'll bring death to death, and that means life. And you're going, oh, hocus pocus. So basically, John, who's against retconning, is saying, but we have to retcon the retcon. And you're going, why don't we just write a good story?
I'm very much in favour of let's put the timeline back on track as it should be. We can interfere on this. We can interfere on this one. We can do the Jodie thing. We can do it. And I just wanted to say, mate, I haven't had time to tell you yet, but I hired a bounty hunter yesterday to track down the source. So
in Cardiff in November, official.
Yeah, it's Dog the Bounty Hunter is for the source now.
Well, this is it. I mean, it's going to get tasty, this, isn't it? Fat Phantom Cat. Thank you very much, by the way. I keep my manners. What people want retconned is the retcons. Set the scales back into balance. You're absolutely right, Brendan. They opened themselves up to being retconned. I did say that, didn't I? I said once you've done it once, unfortunately, you've opened it up. But the trouble is, can we all, for a second, I do get this. We're not Doctor Who fans now. We are just general public who are watching TV less. YouTube's winning. So basically, if you are making a TV program with ever diminishing returns, what you're going to have an episode where, Gallifrey was destroyed. Well, it's not. And the Gold Tooth was a master. He's a flashback. No, that is not a good way to launch a show. And so in the end, I'm going, let everyone have an amnesia. Let us all forget. Come on, Doctor Who in 62 years has wrapped itself in knots. And if it followed a logic all the way through, it wouldn't make any sense at all. We've all conveniently forgotten certain bits. Deadly Assassin retconned the Time Lords, but we accepted it because it was a brilliant story. I think ultimately, if it's a brilliant story, I'll put up with almost anything in Doctor Who. if it's interlaced in the plot.
I think my mindset on it is I want the retcon from Jodie, as you know. I've made it clear many a time, but I don't think I'm ever going to get that. And again, I don't think my Doctor Who is ever coming back, because I think what these people have done the last few years is they've done so much damage to it. They've created so much division. It's an absolute mess. It will be a producer's nightmare, because they have to play the tough card to do that, to get things back on track. Because I reckon if you went out and surveyed a lot of people, just general viewers, they would probably say, one, they didn't like the Ncuti Gatwa era, and two, they probably didn't like the Jodie Whittaker era. Now, why? We don't know. Is that personally against them as the actors, or is it just the writing and the production? That's another argument. But I think I saw someone in the chat a few minutes ago saying we should retcon the 2005 onwards. But the trouble is, it's kind of what you were saying a few minutes ago, mate. It's Eccleston did a great performance arguably in Doctor Who. Tennant, as much as I don't like the individual, he did a good performance in Doctor Who. Matt Smith did a fantastic performance, and I thought Capaldi did a great performance in Doctor Who. So if you erase all that, that disrespects them. I think, as I said a few minutes ago, you do it from where the damage was done.
I partly think, John, and Thread, you can keep me right. I partly think there's a bit more against Jodie and Ncuti because of their interviews, when they've basically said touch grass, white male gaze. I think that's the problem. It was the PR. I don't think per se Jodie Whittaker's a problem, as in I've seen her in other stuff and she's been fine. Ncuti Gatwa, good luck, mate. The thing is, they also got our backs up by what they said to us, which is, if you don't like me, I'm already forearmed with a bit of bile back. And I think, am I right, Ron Thread? I think that's partly why people are saying, I'm quite happy actually, Brendan. Don't know about you, I can wipe away the Jodie era. And I think it's because she quite dismissively, I say accidentally. Oh, that I can't say that. She said something flippantly, which a lot of us are holding against her.
I think for me, it's more than that. I think, I've talked to you in private before, but my views are the fact that the Doctor is the male of his species and is an asexual being. He is a Time Lord. He's not some foundling or some god creation or creature or something like that. He is a Time Lord. He's a male Time Lord who is asexual. And I think when they did that with Jodie Whittaker, I didn't agree with it. I still don't agree with it now. I thought it's not Doctor Who. And I said at the time, if you'd given me a Romana spin-off series, yeah, great, crack on. I would have been up for that. But it wasn't done for any other reason than to virtue signal. And people still will not get on board with it, unfortunately.
So I'll just wrap up these next few comments and then we'll... there's plenty more. David Hardy, they need to put the show on hiatus for 10 to 15 years. I'll be bloody 72. So that when it comes back, oh my God, I'll have specs out here. I'll have a magnifying glass. No, it's got a clean slate to ignore the bad stuff and move forward. Cliff Maxwell, who I know, Cliff, we're trying to put a pitch together and I'm just busy and holidays and all the rest of it. Retcon is not something that's ever been part of Doctor Who. Not really. Alterations to superficiality has been done, but only recently have the writers changed huge fundamental aspects of the show. Therefore, a lot of us are thinking it's open season to then retcon it back. I'm just thinking, once you've done that once, and it's also boring to do, a retcon is not erasing, it's compartmentalising, says Quinty Mint. Now, I'll just get everybody up to speed. Wolf, instead, you being in someone like Mark Miller's comic, mess of canon, I think is what I'm saying then. Phantom Cat, I never said I said thank you, but I didn't do my Who Pet thank you. Will Susan say thank you for me reminding us all that she wasn't in the final series, for good or bad? She wasn't retconned, she nearly was, but yeah, good old Susan. Oh, this is nice, Just remember, I'm your granddad. Yeah, Susan. Wait, what's going on here? Put your hand off that. What's it? Love all your work on Doctor Who, RTD. I've always got my hanky out. How many more seasons of Doctor Who have you written? You never know, I may have written as many as 5. feels different this time. Oh, regenerating! You unearthly child. Very unearthly. And just to remind everybody, am I in the wilderness? There you go.
Yeah, in the void.
Yes, let me just be right up to date. I'm being as efficient as I can. Phantom Cat, just to make it like it used to be. You don't have to dedicate an episode to retconning. Just make it how it was, and the people that need out on this stuff like me will notice. Julie Coonan, Tennant and Tate were good, but they lost the way and got walked after that recon away. Let me just check on a few others. Stephen O'Neill in Wigan. I wish someone at the BBC would wipe the Whittaker and Gatwa master.
I said that, didn't I?
And Garbage Who, his channel, his AI, do him a favour.
Do you imagine, like, you know, we're about erasing the Whittaker and Gatwa era. Do you imagine a Doctor Who finder actually goes out to like a Nigerian building and he actually just puts them there? All of them, just locks them away. Say, keep them here. We don't want them in our country or in the world.
Will they ever be seen as hidden treasures? So Garbage says, to put it into context, chat, we all have our own ideas about a retcon, if and when it should happen, and even what a retcon actually is. But this is a Doctor Who chat, as we always have done, we're speculating. And that's my point to everybody, and I'm going to reaffirm that. It's a nice debate, this, because every fan has an opinion. Every fan's opinion is allowed on here if it's respectful. I write to people and I say, if you want to come on the show and give your opinion and it's different to mine, bring it on. That's great. That doesn't mean I'll take you on in a nasty way. It means we'll have a really good debate, rehearsing what every Doctor Who fan out there is doing. That's all it's about. So quite right, Garbage Who. And we will continue with what the source has been saying. So he says, are you really in 2025 going to go into a media room with a pitch that says we're going to erase the female inclusion of Dr. Yeah, I mean, yeah, try that one. And he's been relay, you know, the tick list they have. And then, you know, nice shot. I'm not getting rid of the War Doctor, if you don't mind. There may be things I didn't like about the name of the Doctor and some of the twaddle about Twins of Law. But am I going to get rid of John Hurt in Doctor Who? Am I hell? Anyway, here we go again. He's still rehearsing what the BBC would say to the pitch. Oh, and the Black Doctor. We're erasing him from history, are we? Get out of our office. We'll call you, thanks. Very much indeed. Yeah, and you're not allowed to pitch anymore. You're off our pitch list. You're out of the pitch. It's never going to happen. That's ridiculous. Get out. Get out of this pub. I mean, that's basically, he knows how they talk. He knows what their tick lists are. And we are going to say, right, I've got this idea for Doctor Who in the future. Right, the Black Doctor didn't exist. The first gay Doctor didn't exist. And neither did the first female Doctor. Get out.
Well, you've also say, though, you know, again, they don't know it, but you would push back and you'd say, well, hang on a minute. What happened to Davros then? What happened to these iconic characters that were changed, you know? And you go down a full list. So, because it's black, it's not acceptable. But when it's another iconic character from the show's history that isn't black, it's okay. It's fair game. And again, this is why I say Doctor Who for me isn't coming back, because you've got people in these positions that, as the source is saying, they will think like this. You're never going to get what you want from Doctor Who, because all of it is literally them in a pitch, sitting there ticking boxes. Before you even get to a story structure, it's tick that off. Diversity is our strength. Tick that off. Okay, right. Okay, we need to have all the different colors of the jelly babies in it. Otherwise, someone will get offended. Tick that one off.
John, I said to him, I'd written a diary of when I was teaching and during lockdown. Very exciting people. No, but and I said, if I made that into a drama, and I was addressing this with a source, and I said, I'm a white working class lad from Middlesbrough. And let's just hope there's some good storyline in whatever this diary is. Bit like Adam Kay. I'd love it to be like Adam Kay, you know, the Junior Doctor one. This is going to hurt. Boy. Anyway, so I said, right, what would happen next? And he said, well, you wouldn't recognize yourself by the time they'd finished with their tick lists. Now, he didn't specify saying you'd suddenly be a black teacher. He just said, no, you wouldn't recognize it. And I'm saying, so basically, I have a story about what it was like for the kids and the teachers and all of us really during lockdown, and hopefully there's a story there. I pitch it to the BBC and they go, that gets changed, that gets changed, that gets changed. Women don't speak like that in our world. You know, you can't treat a man like that there. And before you know it, you're gone. But you're quite right, John. Disabled people, mind you, this is it. Davros. You can retcon Davros.
Yeah.
Be nice to disabled people, but I know so many disabled people who saw him as a kind of iconic, fun piece that, yeah, look at us, we can be like Davros, we're not all nice. You know, they'll love it.
Yeah. I mean, again, you know, it's crazy. It's a controversial opinion, but you know, I've worked with people before who are disabled, you know, and they're horrible people. You know, they're nasty people. so the whole nonsense of that is just ridiculous in itself. And this is the trouble. When you go down this virtue signaling box, you're never going to get a decent production. And is it any wonder that probably high caliber writers from over the decades are probably saying, what? Doctor Who, write for Doctor Who? No. I'll keep a distance from it, thanks.
That's also why the source has told me that in LA and in Britain, he knows so many people who are getting out of television because they don't want their lovely little idea that they've prized and nurtured for years, that it gets decimated and killed during a pitch in this present climate. They'd rather go and get a different job. Julie Coonan, I didn't miss it, sorry. Thank you very much, Julie. I wonder what Who Pet thank you we can get here. But thank you very much, Julie, for just being very generous and supportive. I know. Let's have RTD retconning Morbius. Let's go for that one, eh?
You said we were alone here. Trapped like this, like a sponge beneath the sea. I, Morbius, who once led the High Council of the Time Lords, now reduced to this. Who are you? Where have you come from? You one of the sisterhood?
I thought it was absolutely vital to do this. And I'm so proud of the fact that I deserve an award. And I have problems with her. And lots of us on the production team that I hired only last week had problems with her.
Yeah, I mean, it's lovely. And Garbage, that is lovely. We're going to try. I mean, I've got to keep begging him, but please, Garbage, those are wonderful. I love that shot as it turns. And we've got Mini-Me RTD. We call him Mr. It's a Sin. And he's in the detox, if you see it earlier. That's what we're doing. So, yes, I get it. You can't get rid of a black doctor. You can't get rid of a female doctor, you know. So then what we're doing here...
Well, I will say on this whole retcon subject, spoilers, I'm not going to say what exactly, but there's just been a series launched, a DC series, where it's been retconned from season 1. There's been an interesting retcon in it, you know, that a lot of people are talking about. So it can be done. And again, that producer has got the balls of steel to say, I'm doing this. And he's done it. So you can do it, but you've got to have the courage to do it. And I don't think at the moment we've got anyone that's strong enough to go in there and say, this is what I'm doing.
It's strong enough, but as I keep getting told by the source, who finds it hard enough to get in some rooms to pitch, you have to be almost on a designated list of approved production companies. You can't be Andrew Smith with a story called Full Circle anymore. Sorry, those days are gone. And there will be a future news bites on some very interesting stuff about various things, saying any fan who thinks the wilderness years is what Doctor Who needs, the source kills it dead and says, but it's not going to be the same, and I'll tell you why. Julie Coonan, are there people on here who want to put forward some scripts ideas still working together? Cliff Maxwell will probably have a fit and say, well, I keep asking Brendan. It's been delayed slightly by me being busy with lots of things. But the other thing, Julie, is I'm hearing details. And so I am very cognizant of a context that I can't say about yet. So it's not about... Anyway, I can't say anything. I'm sorry, I can't, because I do have a source and I have to be careful. But basically, you know what I mean, don't you, John?
I do.
There's a context within a context.
You're walking a tightrope at the moment. That's it, basically. And you're doing a grand job of it, my friend.
we're trying our best. I don't know. I mean, I can't lose my source. Can you imagine if I lost him from behind the sofa? I mean, I'd be mortified. Because I am the source whisperer. Oh no, I've got to do this one. No, I've got to do this one. I don't even like sauce, you know.
Do you know? I thought that was going to be your plastic six pack one then for a second.
Yes,
you know
well,
that pops up in a few shows, doesn't it?
I have a lot of requests for that one. They're all from just Jamie. No, sorry. Jamie goes,
super
get
chat.
a backside and get a 6-pack if you don't.
You seen your credit card bill with all those super chats he's putting in requesting them.
Yeah. Oh, we all like a 6-pack. So anyway, the rule from the source: he's a Doctor Who fan. He's a media producer. He's one man though. I mean, if you don't like the era of whoever or whatever, just don't watch it. What's the big deal? You know, just don't watch it. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant to the show. Now, I know some Doctor Who fans will go, how very dare you wash your mouth out. But I think what he's trying to do is also give us a bit of the television logic, which is as soon as it's made and it's been screened, it's like newspaper, old newspaper. Keep moving on with the material. Nobody is sat there, apart from Doctor Who fans, dwelling on this stuff. So just make future stuff. If you don't like the Jodie Whittaker era, we'll just don't have her back.
I'm getting images in my head of these media execs as being quite young, straight out of university with no life experience. I don't know why, but that seems to come to me, mate. It's fun, isn't it? You know,
Oxbridge, you've just summed it up. Oxbridge, they don't like sci-fi. They don't do that. They're all virtue signaling. I mean, I know I'm stereotyping, but it's fun. So, how do you take that thread? Just don't watch it. I can't do that. I have to say, I can't do that. That's why I used my analogy of when you get a teacher you don't like as much in a subject that you normally like, you kind of go with it, don't you? Bit like when Middlesbrough, and you say the same about Man United, when we have in football a manager or a playing style we don't like, I don't walk away with the ball as if my season ticket. I do still watch. We normally, a fan goes a bit further. Now, I know now it's been so damaged and we're so angry and we're so upset. We're now saying, well, no, I'm happy for you to take that away and take that away and take that away. I just think it might take us into the wrong areas regarding what could be done in future. I mean, Paul McGann's movie, I would like to stay in place. It said sort of, I hated that TARDIS room with the eye, the Eye of Harmony thing. Hated that bit of the set. Loved the other bit of the set. Didn't like the half-human bit. Didn't like the kiss necessarily, although the first one was just enthusiasm, wasn't it? You know, I couldn't do it. Now, you are a Star Trek fan. This is his analogy from the source. He says, there's lots of iterations of Star Trek that I don't care for. Personally, I'm a Deep Space Nine fan. I adore that show. I'm less interested in Enterprise, for example. But I don't think they should do a show erasing Enterprise from existence, which is just ridiculous. Why would you do that? Just get on with it and do another show.
I would say to you though, well, two things I'll say to the source. A few things. I adore Deep Space Nine as well. It's wonderful. But as for Enterprise, the example there is very different to Doctor Who because they did a prequel series where they respected what had come before, whereas Doctor Who hasn't respected, or the producers haven't respected what has come before. They've actively gone into the past to retcon the show and to set it to their agenda. So that's what I don't agree with. And there is a lot of rumblings at the moment, interestingly, that the new owners of Paramount may potentially be looking at doing a new Star Trek series, but certain people from Enterprise coming back. So it's all change again. But that's one of my videos coming up in the next week or so. So, you know, that'll be fun. But yeah, that fell nicely into what the source was saying.
Now, Squinty Mints, you know, and I'll show the video in a minute, but I think there's an awful lot of projection of what the source prefers and what he's saying. Yeah, because not every media person's the same. I agree to I can't get into the source's head. I've had a lot of chats with the source, and he clearly thinks similarly on what we think would make good Doctor Who. Darker, scares, blah, blah, blah. So he thinks along that path. But remember, as Doctor Who fans, get two Doctor Who fans in a pub and we'll argue. You know, I mean, look, watch my detox from earlier. We were arguing over the Planet of the Daleks and Robots of Death, Mind Robber, Dominators. It was all kicking off. It was great fun. So yes, is there a lot of projection? But the one thing I hold on to, Squinty Mint, is he has got the scars on his back of going in with a pitch and it's bye-bye, we're not listening to you. Sorry, that's so yesterday. He knows how hard it is. He's just telling us how hard it is. He's not saying, as a Doctor Who fan, this is what I'd love necessarily. He's just saying it won't get traction unless you try it this way or this way. But I know what you mean. It's all great fun. And as I said, we're all wondering, who the hell is this source? I sometimes wonder myself. No, I'm joking.
YouTube is melting with everyone pondering, thinking, sweating over who is the source.
Be allowed to make contact with the source.
Prepare for access to the source.
Therefore, claim rapport with the source, so that you may make your judgment.
And that's all I'm doing, is giving you, all of you, access to the source. And it's great fun. It's a great insight. More Mondasian Cybermen, all of them men. Sorry, how do I know?
Yeah.
Anyway,
you certainly made sure you looked at that in extreme detail, didn't you, mate? You know,
there's a zoom. Yeah, I'm doing a retcon of that episode.
He does it on all of them. He's done it on Earthshock. He's done it on Tomb of Cybermen. It's his thing.
Yeah. So on the retcon idea, source gave us. I did ask him. It's not going to happen under any circumstances. Would a showrunner be hired who said, we're going to raise this and say this era was terrible and that this other era was terrible? It's never going to happen in a million years. So just get over it.
And again, you're talking about fans that have been involved and in love with this show for decades. They're not just going to get over it. A lot of them, I get messaged so often by people that are just saying, no, unless Jodie is retconned onwards from there, they're just not coming back to it. They'll stick with the classic stuff. And that's where we are with it. And again, this just shows the absolute damage that RTD and Chibnall did to this wonderful show, you know, and I don't think it'll ever be the same again because of that, unfortunately.
Now, Lorraine, hello. I can see why the source is employed by the BBC. He's not. He's an independent who has worked for various companies. He knows how they think because he talks to them. And he knows when they shut the door on his face and why, etc. So, yeah, but he is in Cardiff in November. Professionally, not just to see family or something. Garbage Who, well, he's good to see his Auntie Nora. Garbage Who, Chibnall comes in and retcons everything. RTD has retconned everything, including Tennant and Tate. Why the hell can we not have a retcon for? Oh, now my moderator's kicking off with me. No, I understand your logic. Death to death brings life, Garbage, but that made no sense. A retcon to a retcon makes a mess, I think, is the logic I'm going to say.
I disagree with you on that, as I said a few minutes back. I agree with Garbage on it because I think you can do it because they're the ones that did the damage to the show.
Yeah.
This is just putting it back on track.
But but as the media source is telling us, why would you waste your budget doing it? Just
I don't think you need to waste the budget. I think if you're a clever writer or you've got a clever team of writers, you can instantly do it with a quick scene or clever throwaway lines. I think you can do that.
Yes.
I don't think you need £2 million just to go, we need a scene, you know, to do this. And again, I would rather have a clever writer write a get out of jail thing than how much money these idiots spent on getting Jodie Whittaker to sit on top of Shooty Gatwa's body.
Yeah, with a nice thing. Terry Stewart. The trouble with, and good to see you, new names, subscription, repost, Join us, come on a panel. The trouble with just don't watch it is there's such a thing as canon and the history for the show. Jodie's and Gatwa's eras ruined that if I left it intact. Terry, I agree with you. I can't unsee it. And I can't unsee Davros in a life support machine, which RTD seems to think you can. There again, RTD threatened that, and he wrote 2 series of Doctor Who and didn't show you Davros doing it. He only did it in a blooming Children in Need sketch. I think, you know, when people kind of pretend they're brave when they're not as brave as they're kidding on. I detected a bit of that. It's called virtue signalling. So Terry Stewart, I know exactly what you mean, and I know the source now, and he's a good friend. He's not rude. He loves the fans' passion. He's one of them. He's just trying to say, look, but just ignore it. Rather than retcon it and cause chaos and mess and bore the general public, just make a good story and kind of forget it.
He is. I've just got an image now of you, like with that scene with, you know, that sketch with Peter Davison being kidnapped, you know, and he sat on the bed with, what was it, Matt Lucas and David Walliams. That's him, isn't it? You know, you do let him out of the cupboard every now and again, don't you, mate? You know, where he's gagged and tied up. He's been there for months.
We were joking the other day about putting him in a GIMP mask because, you know, because I have that thumbnail of him as this kind of dark crusader or like Batman or Phantom Menace.
A very camp RTD Sharos Jack.
And he's going, just do it, Brendan. And I'm thinking, I'm sorry, I can't have you. And we've brought out the GIMP and we've asked him.
Yeah, just wheel him onto cam every show. Yeah,
I ungag him and says, "Tell us about the Retcon," and he says, "Just do it." Right. Thank you, everybody. That's the last time I talk to the source. The end of that. Oops. It was good while it lasted. Oh dear. Oh, now I feel terrible. I need to think of good things to say to the source. Oh no.
I understand you've lost a couple of scientists. Oh no.
What's wrong? It's Gooch. It's Gooch.
Look for yourself.
Gooch must have left in quite a hurry.
Yes. Yes, he must.
Yeah, good fun. Now, just to keep up to speed, it's been a brilliant thread. Thank you, everyone. I knew you'd like this topic. And again, I do say thanks to the source for giving me time to this. Send me questions. He will answer. He said he would. Mr. Squinty Mint, you write a brilliant script to fix it. I don't agree, John, you're out of order here, that it can or should be done in a line or that writing such a script is easy. Okay, all right. Well, they got away with saying the Time War because it had just come back after a period off. I think now it is harder. And actually, if you're going to retcon it, I think you just need to justify it with a very well-written plot.
I think, you know, I think the point I was making is I'm not a writer myself, and I'm sure it's not as easy as it said, but it's doable. And the point I was trying to make as well is you don't have to spend millions of pounds on a big scene to retcon it. You can do it with the writing and the dialogue.
Tony Farrell, here I do agree with the source. I don't think a retcon is possible. So the other option is a reboot. But if the BBC is so wedded to DEI and has an apathy for Doctor Who, then we'll have a long way to head. We've certainly got a few years. Cliff Maxwell, who is part of our pitch team, keep in mind at one point the Doctor didn't have 2 hearts. Was that a retcon? And he wasn't from Gallifrey. He wasn't named. And we didn't know much about the Time Lords. In fact, the Time Lords were scary even in the War Games. And then suddenly they became just administrative idiots later on. Or bores. Yeah, there's loads of stuff. I agree with you, Cliff. I know. But as I say in the end, if it's a good story, I think you forget that everything's getting retconned.
And I wouldn't say that was a retcon as such. That's developing the character as you go. Whereas what we've had the last few years is going into the past and altering the origins of the Doctor and then changing the Doctor completely, which is a different thing. You know, those were subtle things, I think, that worked with the show.
Why did they do the origins of the Daleks in Genesis? Because Terry Nation was put on a naughty step, and they said, if you're going to do another blooming Terry Nation script, no, do something different. And so he thought, oh, I'll do the origin of the Daleks. And in the end, he had a masterpiece. I think this is what we do here. The Timeless Children was a clumsy, amateur attempt at origin story. But go back to what I said. They were telling Terry Nation, we want a new idea, not a repeat. And if you do an origin story, I think as a Doctor Who writer, you're saying you've run out of ideas.
You're right. I think the Timeless Children as well, it showed up just how poor and one-dimensional Chibnall is as a writer, because it wasn't like he was doing something new and creative. He was copying what Moffat had done. So it's what you were saying a few minutes ago, that opened the door to these hacks to be able to think, I can do that myself now. Because if Moffat hadn't have done it, I don't think RTD or Chibnall have the originality to actually come up with that idea and that concept themselves. But as soon as they knew about it, they were like, okay, well, it's fair game now. It's a shame.
It is. Funky, hey, I tell you what, we've got Friday night seems to be the one. We're getting lots of new people. I wonder if Moffat is actually annoyed that his bringing back the Time Lords was dumped on by Chibnall and followed up by RTD. They've retconned each other in a way, haven't they? Robert Payne, they altered the origins of the Doctor and the Time Lords. It's a massive change. Yeah. We all agree. It's just that whether we can just try and deny it, as the source said, and move on. What he says here, though, on the retcon thing is, I can't imagine. Have I said this one? I can't imagine how they will be allowed to work in the media, because then all the content that now, this is the point, because all the content that the BBC owns for these eras, what are you saying? That they don't matter? They're trying to sell the back catalogue. They want to sell that content and make money out of those eras. Blu-rays, streaming, whatever that might be. They're not going to suddenly erase it and say it doesn't exist in a storyline. So if people out there have a great idea for getting rid of the Shooty Doctor, the Jodie Doctor, taking us all the way back to 1989, whichever is your preference, and I'm sure there are some clever ideas out there. But how does that make money for the BBC when they want to sell the back catalogue for about 400 million, I was told?
Well, it's very simple. I would say to them, look, if you want me to pitch this, I want to have access to your data on what you're selling on merchandise at the moment and DVDs and Blu-rays. I would look into that. I would then go in with my pitch and I'd say to them, well, hang on a minute. You're saying that you're worried about the back catalogue, but I've got data here that's showing that the Shooty and the Jodie era DVD collections and their merchandise is hardly shifting. It's not moving at all. In fact, it's going backwards. The brand is tanking. Therefore, what's the problem with it? Let me move forward with my idea and let's get the show working again. Let's get it humming. Let's get the merchandise going again. Because the data's, I mean, it's there, isn't it? I mean, we look at it now. I mean, the latest era, you got a Space Babies pin or a Snot Monster pin badge. That the caliber of the stuff that they were getting, apart from things like character options that have been going for quite some time. So the merchandise now to where it was is like night and day for me. I don't know about you, Brendan. I'm sure lots of people in the chat, when it was going well, I was buying everything Doctor Who. But as soon as the Jodie era came, all I got was the collection set. That was it.
I've ordered when I want. I now get the Doctor Who magazine when I want that one.
Yeah,
it's changed. I've lost interest in a lot of it, and I think that's been part of this. Mark Brown though says, and I haven't seen it yet, I wrote in this channel's comment section a retcon that was a direct follow-on to everything that was shown on the screen so far. A retcon without changing anything in the past. It's doable. So everybody check it out. I haven't seen it yet myself yet. So Mark Brown, that'll be interesting, because a lot of us are thinking about that in different ways. Dormant Assassin, forget about Fugitive, forget about Timeless Child, forget about Shooty and Jodie. No need to retcon, just ignore Chibs and RTD shite. Stephen O'Neill, it would be interesting to see if the Gatwa and Whittaker era made any money from. Well, John was saying that, yeah, as you said. It's just I don't know. They want to sell the whole package, though, don't they? I suppose that's what it is. And if you start dicing it, well, it's a bit like saying I'm selling a house, but you're not getting the extension. And I suppose if somebody wants content, remember they couldn't give a toss about the content. They just want episode numbers. And if you say, you know, if you've already written out the Shooty 2 seasons and maybe Geordie, and you've snipped how many episodes is that, everybody? It's just content on the
well, interestingly, I bet you there'd be some very, very interesting Disney data on how well the Shooty era is done and the merchandise sales for it. That would be great evidence to basically tell them, right, let's ignore this. Let's move forward with our plan, our structure.
It's mad, isn't it? I mean, honestly, oh God, when I see pictures of, say, this is a 96 movie, I actually see that Buckingham Palace and I see the guy. I almost realize we've lost that society. We've lost that time. We've lost
Wonderful
that vibe.
time.
It's not just Doctor Who that's changed.
No.
The whole world has changed. And it just feels like, is it that long ago? Yeah. It's just, the world is so different. It's frightening. So, in essence, my source says fans who think like that, bless them. No, he's not being patronizing, by the way. I know how he said that. He just says, oh, bless him. I know. I mind you, I'm not an actor, by the way. So I'm sorry. He wasn't being patronizing. I made it sound patronizing twice.
He's not. Just picture him right now. He's in his GIMP mask. It's just been unzipped and he's trying to get his breath back.
Fans who think like that. Oxygen. I don't show you in these streams all the things he does say as well when he says, I want more air. Can I have a drink, please?
Haven't eaten in weeks.
And I prod him and say, right, well, only if you tell me about retcons. Oh dear. I'm never going to see this. Fans who think like that, bless them, but they're not living in reality. Now, he did say that in a nice way. There are nice ways of saying it. It's just I'm not a very good actor. He did. Honestly, he did. Jamie's downstairs. He was also talking to the source. He did. That's all I can say, because I wouldn't want you hating on the source. He is only just trying to say, look, kind of, it's not going to happen. So don't ask for stuff. It's not going to happen, you know. And then, I'm sorry, and then he was locked in the cellar again.
The wheezing.
Hold on, I can hear some knocking. Oh God, he wants a meal, I think. Tony Farrell, just because we're letting him go to Cardiff for the day. He'll be in a dog kennel. Tony Farrell, just because the BBC wants to sell a complete back catalogue doesn't mean that will follow. We've seen the estates of writers withdraw their consent already. But I know that that's part of the package and the negotiation next time. Every streamer, yes, they are talking. Of course they are. But they've all learned from Disney. And the first question or the second question is the back catalogue we want. Because Disney just didn't get it. It was such a foolish move by them. They did all this investment but got no payback for their own platform. Crazy. Well, Apple, Amazon, the lot, they're no mugs now. Everybody's learnt from Disney. And the other thing they've learnt from Disney, according to the source, is they'll have their own writers. They'll have their own writing team. And if RTD has written another 3 series, as I joke about, well, he did say he's written some more, bog off.
I would also say to you as well at the moment, another interesting potential streamer that they might be talking to throw its hat into the ring is Paramount. Since the acquisition, Paramount, they've been doing some good acquisitions lately, and they've got a good studio exec producer from Apple, who's got a good CV and a good caliber. So, you know, what better pitch for them potentially if they got it on track and wanted to be involved to say, you know, this is Paramount Plus. We've not only got Star Trek, but we've also got Doctor Who. So if you're a head exec at one of those, that's a good sell.
I've got here Tom Boychik, Brendan is definitely slapping the sauce on the bottom to get every drop out of him. We joked about that tomboy chick. That's why the GIMP reference came up, because me and Jamie were joking with the sauce just last Saturday. And I said, one day you're going to have nothing else to say. And I said, you know, like that advert when they have the sauce bottle and they slap it, everyone slaps the sauce bottle. I said, I'll be slapping you. And then we suddenly went and talked about other stuff. So there you go. You were more truthful than you realized. So, John, we have basically got to the wrap party part of it. Now, John, you've been busy. You are busy. You're going to be busy straight after this. Your channel is Gallifrey. Well, it's not Gallifrey. You're Gallifrey 11 on Twitter, and your Sci-Fi Chronicles 79. What are you up to?
Well, so I've got Stargate SG-1 live watch party on Sunday night. That's carrying on. We're just about to get to the end of season 2. So if you fancy a bit of Stargate, come along. We watch it in the Discord together, and then we comment along in the live chat. It's great fun. The other thing that I've got coming up, I've got a few videos coming up on Star Trek Strange New Worlds latest episodes, my review of them. And I've also got some videos coming up about the new Peacemaker series as well. So a few things on the way. So keep a lookout for them. And,
now, I won't spoil it if you don't name it, but to be quite honest, in the detox argument earlier today, one of the stories that you have reviewed was mentioned. I was on the wrong side of the debate, and I was getting a right telling off. And if
the Mind Robber,
yes. So if those of you who love the Mind Robber, I was going to be on that review, but I double booked. It's my fault. But he's got his review coming up, haven't you, John? On that.
Yeah. So that was great fun with Michael Herbert. You know, is great fun on the on the recording doing the Mind Robber, and it was just me and Michael just going through the episodes, just breaking them down. It will be coming out once I've finished the edit, because I want to put a few little clips in there from the episode itself. So watch this space, and if you like your Trout and Who, check it out.
There you go. Well, we'll keep these coming, folks. I'm still trying to do my love letter to the Sea Devils. Honestly, I've got everything ready apart from editing the blooming thing. We've got some cliffhanger specials coming, so I'll keep you on the edge of your seat there. And more stuff coming. Stephen O'Neill, who I saw earlier, he said we're going to have to just kind of agree to disagree. He loves the Mind Robber, so they'll all be tuning in for that. It would have been much more entertaining if I was on, because it would have been. It
would have been great. It would have been great. And all I would say to everyone, when it comes out, put your comments in. You know, whether you hate it, whether you love it, you know, bits you like, bits you hate. You know, just do it so that I can review them and see just how much it swings to either Brendan's opinion or other people's opinions. Yeah, the war's begun.
So everybody, have a good Friday, have a good weekend. I might do another stream. I doubt it in the next day or so. It's now a bit of a rest after the double bill. I might even talk to the Source. Thanks to the thread. It's been lovely. Yeah. I'll go and feed him now. Look after yourself, John, and thanks for doing this. And thank you, everybody in the thread. See you again.
Take care, all.